Hey folks, it's Rob and welcome back to part 19 on my series on the Dungeon Master's Rulebook, and probably the last episode actually from the D&D 1983 Red Box set. When we were last here, we were still in the, dungeon design concept stage. We were moving into random stocking. Oop, knock that over. There we go. So Yeah. 6, fill into final details. So random stocking is an option that we can do to stock the dungeon. And, this will allow us to randomly determine room contents in the sense of like traps, monsters, treasure, that kind of thing. And then we're going to give a final, it goes into a bit of a glossary, honestly, but it's trap room contents. So we'll get started. Random stocking. After placing special monsters in a dungeon, you may fill the rest of the dungeon with creatures either at random or by choosing. Many rooms should be left empty. If there are creatures everywhere, the dungeon will be too dangerous. As a way of checking, imagine what would happen if in the dungeon when the adventurers aren't around. If the monsters would encounter each other often, they should not be enemies. Otherwise, the dungeon could be ruined. It would be nearly empty before the adventurers arrive, with all the dungeon treasure in the lair of the last survivors. To randomly stock a dungeon room, roll 1d6 twice and consult the room contents table. The first roll is to find the contents, monster, trap, special, or empty, and the second roll shows whether treasure is present. So let's get some d6s, get some old dice out, and, be ready to roll, as it were. Yeah, we'll use these. There we go. So, we're going to need some d6s. That's a d6. That's a d6. Get the rest of these out of the way. Right. So, our first d6 roll on this chart down here, room content table. 1 to 2 empty. On a 3, trap. 4 to 5 monster. And on a 6, special. Let's see, we got a 1, empty. Our next room, 6, special. And we don't get a second roll on that. It just says special, usually no treasure, right? And then 2, empty. 4 is a monster. And then we roll on the second one. On a 1 to a 3, it has treasure. 5, no treasure. Okay, unlucky for them. Just some example rolls on the chart, right? Use the first roll to find the contents, and then read across to the column under the result of the second roll. If the result is T, place treasure in the room. Treasure is rarely found with a special. The amount of treasure can be determined by using the random treasures table. So there's a random treasures table, dungeon level 1 or dungeon level 2 to 3. And you can see we have, a certain amount of predetermined treasure and some chances. So there just seems to always be silver. You get on level 1, you can get a d6 times 100 of silver, so that's like 100 silver, or 500 silver. There's a 50% chance of 1d6 times 10 gold pieces, so, we need the old percentile dice again. And, I'll use these. So let's see, that's a 29. Yeah, 29. So that would be a d6 times 10 gold pieces, right? So that's 30 gold pieces. 5% chance of some gems, right? And, I go like from, 1 to 5, but, it could be 95 to 100 if you prefer. Yep. Jewelry, 2% chance for 1d6 pieces of jewelry. That's an 18, but no. And then magic, 2% chance of any one magic item. Now, that could be a bit weird to randomly encounter a magic item as part of a treasure appear, but it's fairly low a possibility. Now, on levels 2 to 3, the odds increase and the treasure increases, obviously, here. The silver pieces is a d12 times 100. The gold chance does not change, but the gems is 10%, so that's doubled for a d6 of gems. 5% on jewelry, it's more than doubled, and 8% on a magic item, that's quadrupled. So, more reward for the higher risk it's supposed to be, right? So, back to the description here. Silver pieces are always part of randomly placed treasure, and other items might be found. The DM rolls percentage dice, and if the result is equal to or less than the number given, that type of treasure is also present. Treasure should rarely be sitting out on the floor. You should probably decide where the treasure is kept, a locked chest, or hidden in a hollow table leg, etc. Right? So, be creative, but obviously, it helps to, I don't know, be prepared. Think about things that might possibly happen. Right now, you're not doing this in front of the players, right? You're doing this while you're stocking your dungeon. So think about, well, what do you want to do? Maybe there's a flagstone in the floor, right? Do what you think is appropriate. Room contents. The random stocking chart may call for the placement of a trap or a special. These are explained below. So, trap. A trap is anything that could cause damage, delay, or a magical effect to occur. The trap may be found and possibly removed by a thief character. Traps may be placed on doors, walls, ceilings, room furnishings, that's table, chest, etc., or directly on a treasure. You may combine traps or place several in one area, but try not to make the encounter too dangerous for the characters. Deadly traps are not recommended until the second level of a dungeon or deeper is reached. Some typical traps: blade. A blade sweeps out, down or up, hitting someone, possibly allowing a saving throw for damage. Creature. A monster, snake, beetle, spider, etc., jumps up and you gets one free attack by surprise. Darts. Some tiny darts, shot by a spring mechanism, shoot out and hit someone, either automatically hits or by making a hit roll, for damage or some other effects such as paralysis, poison, curse, etc. Paralysis is a good way to use a nice poison dart, initially, because it's inconveniencing a party member, but it's not like, eliminating a party member right away. Curses, your mileage varies on curses. Poison tends to be fairly deadly early on, as we've gone over. Explosion. Something blows up, causing damage to everyone in the area. Any set amount of dice range, but a saving throw versus spell should allow damage to be reduced to half, unless the explosion is an illusion. That's an interesting concept, and you don't. That's an odd swerve at the end of the reading, right? Of the explosion's actually an illusion. Yeah. So, falling items. A block or rubble falls when something is touched or at random, striking someone and allowing a saving throw versus wands for trying to jump out of the way for damage, either a given number or a dice range, right? So, the whole ceiling could fall in, or it could just be like a small part of it. Or, another kind of example of a falling item trap is actually just like a bucket over a well and you're standing below it, right? Fog. Looks like poison gas, but a failed saving throw results in, pick one, nothing, giggles, fear, a terrible smell for 1 to 6 turns, which may attract monsters or increase wandering monster chances, anger, victims attack each other for 1 to 4 rounds, a saving throw may be applied, or paralysis. You could use most of these pretty much right away, as is, right? Illusion. Something strange happens, but not really. See Phantasmal Force, a magic user spell. And the characters may be scared away, or the illusion may have some other effect, such as giving a false clue, luring characters towards an trap, etc. A nice illusion to use on your party members, I mean, not nice, right? Would be like the illusion of a person beckoning them, right? Uh, I don't know. I grew up with like ghost stories in the neighborhoods, right? Like, Resurrection Mary, right? And she'd wait by the side of the road and beckon people to kind of get her to pick her up, and you're not supposed to stop the car, right? Um, light. A bright light flashes, and all seeing it are blinded for a time. A saving throw versus spells would apply, possibly with a bonus or penalty to the roll. Possibly your monsters in the area know about this if your party's been quite loud. Maybe this is the opportunity for them to attack. If it's like pathetic little ambush monsters. Pit. A section of floor gives way, and one, some, or all characters fall in, taking 1d4, 1d6, 1d8, 1d10 damage. The pit may have something at the bottom, spikes for more damage, deep water, or a monster. It may be a chute leading down a one-way ride to the next dungeon level. Yeah, if you're going to take the whole party, I like the chute. Of course, that does like amp up the difficulty level, and they might not realize what you've done. If these are new players, try to be a little gentle on them. Here's the poison gas. Victims make saving throws versus poison or take damage, 1d4, 1d6, or whatever is dangerous but not deadly to most characters. Optionally, a saving throw versus poison with bonuses, +1, +2, +4, to the roll may be made with failure meaning death. Gas is usually a container released when opened. So, they open the chest and it comes out. Maybe someone managed to hold their breath. Maybe they managed to turn away. Maybe they managed to get away. I would be, if they're going to be like, so the thief is opening a chest, I'm over here on the other end of the room. Maybe the poison gas doesn't quite get to them as readily, or they have a better chance on the save. Obviously, gases disperse into areas of volume and, become increasingly more dilute in the atmosphere. So, but they could be like heavy and just along the ground, further away as opposed to up in their faces. Poison needle. This is a small needle hidden somewhere and nearly undetectable until accidentally touched, when it will spring out and poke a character who tries to open something. Yep. Common kind of lock trap, right? Special. A special is anything you place which is not normal but is not a trap, monster, or treasure. Some typical specials are an alarm. Summons special monster, opens dungeon doors, or has no effect at all. Remember that shrieker we were talking about in the monster section? That could be an alarm. Illusion. A dungeon feature, stairs, room, door, monster, treasure, etc., is not really there, but is merely a phantasm. Yeah. They can be like, there's the way out. Nope. Oh, it's a fountain full of refreshing water. Nope. Whatever you want to yank away in front of your party, Map change. A shifting wall moves after the party passes, cutting off their exit. They must find another way out of the dungeon. The wall shifts back after a time, a turn, an hour, a day, right? Movement. The room or stairs or a door or item moves, turns, drops, closes, rises, etc., unexpectedly. It might be stopped if a roll for surprise, often with a -1, 2, or 3 penalty, shows that the party reacts quickly enough to prevent it. This course reminds me a lot of the old classic Dragon's Lair, where, you like leap on the platform and it's like moving, right? Pool. Magical water has a strange effect if touched or drunk or sprinkled on someone or something, such as healing, inflicting damage, changing an ability score, changing alignment, making something magical for a time, invisible for a time, etc. So, I mean, if you want to hand out a permanent ability score adjustment, please feel free, but I would recommend against it. The party's going to want to exploit that. Uh, you could maybe have it like lose its effect after the first person's used it if you're going to go that far. Temporary effects, yeah, go for temporary effects is my recommendation, right? Um, Sounds. The room or item or treasure makes strange noises, moaning, screaming, talking, etc. Always, we're in the spooky season right now at the time of recording. It's we're about a week and a half out from Halloween. No, 2 weeks actually. At the point I'm sitting here, um, and yeah, sounds are appropriate even if it's not spooky season, right? Statue. A large statue of a person, monster, or gadget, nearly anything you can imagine, is found. It may be valuable, magical, too heavy to move, alive, lonesome and willing to talk, maybe a liar, covering a trap door down, a treasure, etc. Right? Maybe there's a catch and an opening in the base of the statue slides away and you can see stairs down. Right? Um, maybe the statue is like an orrery or giant grand observatory telescope or something, right? From some wizard. Or maybe it's a statue, classic statue, right? At the beginning of the solo play adventure, there was a statue right in the middle of the 50 by 50 room, right? And that could be whatever you want it to be, right? A statue could be like some deity that was forgotten or remembered and, current or past. And or it could be some forgotten hero. It could be a living statue, and that's a monster. It's in here, right? Be careful, but you can do a lot of different things. Maybe it's got a magical presence, right? Maybe because it's a statue of some god, you want it to be able to speak to the party. Transportation. This could be a trap door leading up or down, secret stairs, elevator, magical portal to elsewhere, another room, another level, another dungeon, etc. Could be out, right? Yeah, magical portal just like leads to somewhere outside the dungeon, right? Again, your party may want to exploit this if they find it convenient. So be careful what you do, but it can also be quite disorientating because they've been moved to somewhere else. Trick monster. This applies to any variation of a listed monster, such as a skeleton who shoots its fingertips like magic missile, a two-headed giant ogre, a goop dragon that spits green slime or gray ooze, a wild boar, a shaggy man who tells long, dreary stories. Yes, shaggy dog tail right there. A quartering, a half-sized halfling, a mouth harpy who can't sing but plays the harmonica. Oh God, the jokes. An ogre jelly. Looks like an ogre, but it's a jelly. Rock and roll baboon and so forth. Yeah. Maybe that fits your campaign. Maybe it doesn't fit your campaign. Maybe your party's going to go, oh God, he's making jokes again. It's your game. It's your table. You should have a handle of what you're going to do. I'm not above some dad jokes. Obviously, I am 50 years old. Maybe I don't have children of my own, but I have many nieces and nephews who I help raise. And yeah, I got jokes. But maybe not all the time. Maybe don't do it in a way that kills the party. Weird things. You may let your imagination run, placing such things as weapons which fly, attacking by themselves, talking skulls, a magic item or treasure firmly stuck to the floor or wall or ceiling, a magical area, zero gravity, reverse gravity, growth to double size, shrink to 1 inch tall. The effects last until leaving the area. A huge creature recently slain, too big to fit through the corridors. But how did it get here? And so forth. Yeah. Again, if you've never seen Dragon's Lair, take 20 minutes and watch a playthrough of Dragon's Lair on YouTube. Recommended. It'll give you plenty of ideas for weird things. Wandering monsters. In a dungeon, monsters are often encountered in rooms. The rooms may be their lairs, or the creature may simply be passing through, having lairs elsewhere. These encounters are with placed monsters. The creatures mentioned in the dungeon description as being in one specific place. However, monsters may also wander around and be encountered during their travels. The DM does not place these creatures in any one spot. Instead, they are listed in a special wandering monster table. So we can see over here on the side, right? Right. Included in the dungeon description. This chart is part of the design of most dungeons. One wandering monster table may be used for an entire dungeon, or separate lists may be made for each level of the dungeon. Some sample charts for the dungeon levels 1 through 3 are given below. Well, on the next page here on the back cover. During the adventure, the DM keeps track of the passage of time. To find out if wandering monster appears, the DM rolls 1d6 after every 2 turns. So that's every 20 minutes in the dungeon. If the result is a 1, one or more wandering monsters are approaching the party. The creatures, so you got about 16% chance every 20 minutes for a wandering monster encounter in the dungeon, right? And then you're going to be over here. Creatures may be approaching from any direction. Now, obviously, it has to make sense for the dungeon that you have. A direction may simply be chosen by the DM depending on the location of the characters, or may be selected randomly. Creature will arrive shortly, 1 to 4 minutes, after the roll indicates wandering monsters. They might arrive while another encounter is in progress. Some action or items may increase the chances of wandering monsters. Loud noises, battles, cursed items, or exploring special areas may result in a roll to check for wandering monsters every turn, and possibly higher chances, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4 on a d6. You're going to need to use your judgment for that, unless specified in a module that you're using. But, the louder, the more obnoxious, the more, danger prone the party is, the more likely wandering monsters are going to be attracted. If something exploded, that's probably getting something's attention, right? If they're screaming at the top of their lungs and going, die kobolds, you think the hobgoblins might notice? So, generally, the number of wandering monsters appearing should be less than the normal number appearing given in the monster description. As a guideline, use the adjusted number appearing as encountered on an easier level of the dungeon. For example, 2 to 8 goblins first level monsters, or normally encountered on dungeon level 1. If encountered as wandering monsters on the same level, only 1 to 6 or 1 to 4 goblins might be met. To use the wandering monster tables given, find the table for the dungeon level being explored, then roll 1d20, the old trusty d20, right? And find the result on the chart used. The name and number of the wandering monsters encountered is given next to the result. The number appearing has been adjusted both for level differences and for wandering versus placed. Find the full description of the monster on the page number of the book given for more information. So, the monster descriptions, we've been through them. But let's have a look at this chart. I just rolled, but let's roll it again. I got a 20. Okay. So, on this chart, a 20 is a zombie. You'll get 1 to 3 zombies wandering the whole corridor. Okay. Well, you remember how to roll 1 to 3, right? We take a d6 and we cut it in half, right? So that'd be 1 zombie in the hallway. Ain't a bad wandering monster encounter for the party. Level 2. It would also be a zombie, but this time it's 1 to 6 zombies. We don't cut it in half. It'd be 2 zombies on that roll. Dungeon level 3. It's a white. Wow, that escalated quickly. 1 to 3 whites as well. Yeah, okay. And we have some Dungeon Master reference charts, right? So, you have your saving throws, and you notice that there's no, like, we get your, via the type, right? Cleric, dwarf, elf, fighter, and levels on them. The levels on fighter go to 12 because basically some of the monsters can go that high. Halfling, magic user, normal man, so this is, a non-adventurer, and then thief, right? And we don't have this chart further expanded because this is only the basic set. So we only really have levels 1 through 4 or 1 through 3 of the various types, except for the fighter, because again, that's used for monsters. Monster hit chart. Monster hit dice goes all the way to 17 plus, right? At which point, they're going to be whapping even plate mail armors on most of the time, right? That's 2 straight across here until we hit 3. And then it's a 3, and 2 is a 4, right? It's very, yeah. Maybe don't need this right now, honestly, but it's there. Defender's armor class versus monsters hit dice. So this is an extension of this chart because we can have negative armor class, and remember this is descending armor class. So 9 is an unarmored, unmodified human being or character, right? So, if Bobo the elf happens to have just he's a magic user wearing a robe. Well, an elf is is a fighter magic user type, but let's say for some reason he doesn't have any kind of armor and does not have a dexterity adjustment, he would be AC 9. Same character with like a 3-point armor class adjustment would be a 6, right? And then let's say we had bracers of defense of some type, which I don't know, where are they in here? Well, let's go to instead to a plate mail person, right? Plate mail would bring us to 3, and that's here, right? And then we had a shield. That's an R point off. Let's say they had that 3-point dexterity bonus adjustment, right? So we take it down to 3 more points. 1, 2, 3 to -1. Yes, you can have negative armor class. Yeah, this is where it's 20 for the basic bottom level monsters. And then as you can see, it just continues to be 20, right? If somehow they had like a ring of protection, some other blessing, right? We can get this even lower, but it's getting harder and harder to get there. If the armor's magical, well, we can take some more movement on that as well, right? If it's like +1 magic armor, +1 shield, that's an R2 points. Combined with a dexterity bonus and everything's all fit and fiddle, yeah, we can get down here. Highly unusual, but you can do it. But as you can see, the kobolds always have a chance. They always have a 5% chance to hit. And that economy of attacks and actions adds up, right? 5% chance rolled 20 times is not great for that first level fighter. Just saying. You might feel invulnerable. You're not. You could have a very bad day. And then on the back, we just have our index for the Player's Manual and Dungeon Master's Rulebooks, which, for quick reference, if you like, magic spells, second level listed, page, Player Manual 41 to 42, right? So, we finished the book. Wow. We finished the box set for the most part, at least the one I have, right? Now, I did prepare a little because traditionally this, well, in addition to the dice here listed on the back, and you can see it's not pictured, but a lot of these were issued with actually keep on the Borderlands. But I happen to have this. This is the predecessor to that. And this is 1979. and is not the set I first got, right? Here we have a thing for the RPGA intact. The TSR survey. The 1981 TSR Hobbies Incorporated Gateway to Adventure catalog. And, you know, keep on the Borderlands. And the BX, the B of BX, right? You can see it's a little hard worn. These were not punched by players. These came punched for 3-ring binding. And boy, this is a trip also. My friend Jim had this and not this. And we didn't realize initially that there was much difference between these two editions. Other than that, this is a single book instead of this being broken into 2 books, right? This is copyright 1980, this particular one. And you can see it's had a hard life, but I didn't have this edition and I wanted to rescue it. So let's put all the second. I mean, if you're curious, what's in a catalog from 1981 from TSR? Well, you can buy T-shirts. Look, you can go to Gen Con Game Fair. I've been a few times actually when it was in Milwaukee in the 90s. Dragon Magazine, right? Fantasy game playing aids, like here's the World of Greyhawk, Dragon Dice aids, Monster and Treasure book, Dungeon Geomorphs, Hex books. That's just basically hex paper. Look, you can still buy the Greyhawk book here, right? You can buy Blackmore, Eldritch Wizardry, all the, this is a collector's edition, right? Swords and Spells, Chainmail, Gods, Demigods, and Heroes, Eldritch Wizardry. Fourth Dimension. I don't even know what this is. I've never played it. I have played Awful Green Things from Outer Space. That's fun. That's a fun pickup game. Snit's Revenge. I've heard of it. I've never actually played Snit's Revenge. It's a game that was in Dragon Magazine, actually. So, you can get it that way. Fight in the Skies. It's not Dawn Patrol. Gamma World. This is the first edition of Gamma World. It's the one that the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide offers like compatibility and conversion rules for. Top Secret. I actually have a copy of Top Secret. Boot Hill. That's the Wild West game. Dungeon. This is like a board game simplification. Kind of like Hero Quest before Hero Quest existed. Warlocks and Warriors. Never played that. Divine Right. Did I play Divine Right once? Maybe once. Knights of Camelot. Here we have the Dungeon Advanced D&D modules of the time. So, you have Village of Hamlet. That's actually here listed as T1. I think they later make that B1. G series, so that's Against the Giants, G1, 2, and 3. D series, D1 and 2, Descent into the Depths of the Earth. And the Vault of the Drow. I say Drow. I don't know who all these people are who say Drow, but they're Drow. I say Drow. Q series, that's Queen of the Demon Web Pits. That kind of, I think, plays on from the Vault of the Drow. Competition series. These you used to play role-playing games in like RPGA tournament play. So we have the Hidden Shrine of Tamakojan, and we have I probably said that terribly, Ghost Tower of Inverness. Special series. These are also things that you would see in tournament play. Tomb of Horrors, Practically Infamous. White Plume Mountain. Expedition to Barrier Peaks, also kind of infamous. This I've played, and it could be quite interesting. Dwellers of the Forbidden City. The Slaver City. Hey, you need some bad guys? Slavers, right? This module, first in the series, starts quest to end the evil actions of a ring of treacherous slave lords. What more do you want, right? That's the A series. Here we have the Rogues Gallery. I think I brought that out last episode for briefly. That's a 48 page of just pre-gens, right? Uh, the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons player character folder and adventure records. The non-player character records, Dungeon Master's log, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons player character record sheets, and the DM screen, the classic DM screen. I used to be on the other side of that. My friend Jim had that one. This is where a lot initially that TSR thought where the money would be, and not so much in the modules. They got around to doing the modules after everyone else got into modules. Because they're like, well, yeah, they can come up with their own settings. Why would I pay for that? You know, here we have the classic AD&D Master's Guide, Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, and Deities and Demigods Cyclopedia. By this point, I think they're in at least the third printing, because it says 15 different pantheons instead of 17 right there. Possibly further. I'm not an expert. I'm just an old grognard. Here we have stuff for the basic, right? And this is towards the beginning here, because obviously this is in here, right? And I've been going backwards through here for no reason whatsoever, but it's interesting. Obviously, this is the kit I was just showing you. Here's the expert version, right? Fun thing, this graphic here is in the graphic here. The expert one contains Isle of Dread, along with the book for the expert. And obviously this would have contained dice originally, and each of these would contain dice, actually. And I don't have the original dice, because the original dice tend to either disappear into people's dice bags, or other people realizing what they're actually worth nowadays just go and actually just take them and remove them from the set to sell separately. Much how like all the peanut oil in your peanut butter went to go to be sold as peanut oil, and they put vegetable oil in your peanut butter. If you didn't know that, well, I blew your mind. Sorry about that. Keep on the Borderlands, Dungeon Manual B2. They do sell that separately, but that was included in this set, right? So maybe you need another one. I don't know. In Search of the Unknown, B1. Palace of the Silver Princess, B3. It eventually gets to like B9. I think you can buy a collected B1 through 9 on drivethrurpg.net. Not today. I might get an affiliate link. We'll see. I don't have one currently. This is not promotion. This is just me going over stuff, being nostalgic. D&D booklets. So, you want the basic booklet, but not part of a box set. You can buy that separately. It's this blue printing. Looks different, doesn't it? Right? It's got that dragon on it. I think that artwork was commissioned by the UK publisher. And you can buy the expert booklet separately as well. D&D expert module, Isle of Dread, like I mentioned. Slight variation between the old version of Isle of Dread and the newer version of Isle of Dread. I think I only have the newer version on my shelf right now. Expert playing aids, so you can get Dungeons & Dragons player character record sheets, right? And this classic art, it's the green sheet. I remember seeing some green sheets. Again, we used to play with some of this stuff. And the yellow sheets were for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, if I recall. If I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me in the comments. But, yeah. Fun stuff in the Gateway to Adventure, huh? But all that aside, yeah. All that aside, we'll just put that in here. This poor box. Look at that. Kind of... Sorry, you couldn't see that. This is, not in great shape. But I didn't pay that much for this, so I'm happy, right? Here we have Keep on the Borderlands. It's kind of a sandbox, and sometimes people do criticize it in interesting ways. About it not being quite right for your beginning party. they can wander directly into something they're not prepared for. Old school gaming's like that, I'm afraid. But we keep that in here because that came with this, and I like to keep that together. But there we go. Original fantasy role-playing game for 3 or more adults ages 10 and up. Indeed. I suppose I have this other thing I came across. This is the Dragon Magazine Combat Computer. Ain't this weird? I'll need to look into it more because I'm actually not quite sure exactly how I'm supposed to use this. It's from 1983. I know that much. And this is not exactly a pristine version, but I believe you had to cut this out of Dragon Magazine. So I didn't do that. Someone else already did this and put this together. You know, they had to use like a, you know, these kind of pins you bend the leaves on. But you know, works like a code wheel, right? You used to get these on like the old Gold Box series D&D games, and you'd play for a while, and then it'd be like, look up the thing, and you gotta like look up the thing with the code wheel, right? Except I never had to do that. We hacked our version of the game using a hex editor, so we could just change all the code entries to just being carriage return. So, but you still needed like the book because you had to like read passage numbers 82 and that kind of thing. Unless you got yourself a text file or a PDF or a printout, right? But, you know, I hacked my own copy of the game because I didn't want to have to go and dig out the code wheel every time I wanted to do something. Anyhow, that's enough me rambling on. I'll need to do something next. Because we're out of Dungeon Master's Guide now. We're out of Redbox set. And I have a week to work that out, I guess. I think we're going to have a special episode next where I am going to sacrifice some of my Zuccotti dice and fill them in with a crayon, and we'll just do that here while I talk about things. And then I'll probably run a poll because I have some possibilities of things I want to do. I've talked about this previously. Thinking about it. I have a few things to hand here. Oh, actually, you know, while I was talking about it, actually, I got this right here. That's that standalone. But there's the Rogues Gallery I was talking about, right? Forgot I had that just sitting here. But yeah, what I talked about previously. There it is. I can continue to dig into monsters. I have this like a Mystara Monstrous Compendium appendix here. This is actually 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, but basically collects and updates all the monsters used in the Mystara setting, which is functionally the known world for Dungeons & Dragons, and compiles them into a useful book, right? We can dig through this for a bit if you want. That's an option. I have this solo adventure right here, which is one of the planned items I had coming up to work on. Ghost of the Lion Castle, BSOLO, right? From 1984. This would be pretty contemporary with this edition of the game. And it will allow us to do a bit of gameplay, if you want. So that's option 2. And I would say option 3 is I can go to the expert set, which I have on the shelf over there. I can just we're doing the same treatment on the expert set. So, yeah, I'll probably open a poll on the channel if I can, or I will make a post. But your comments under this video are also acceptable, whichever you happen to want to see. Option 1, 2, or 3, that is, option 1, Monstrous Compendium Appendix. We can roll through that for a while. It's not a small book. It's like 120 pages. We could do the solo adventure, or we can roll through the expert set, which is a single book, but it's player and dungeon master content in a single book. That'll be option 3. Or you can just simply state whichever one you want. Okay? Gotcha? Good. Right. Let's wrap up, because we're 45 minutes. I want to say deep from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for watching these videos and being here and commenting and liking and subscribing and all the fun stuff. Your actions and interaction mean the world to me, and I appreciate you being here with me on this nostalgia trip, right? And sure, I can show off some of the stuff I pick up, right? But really, this is about me just being in memories and thinking about good times in the past, and giving whatever advice and insight I have on this version of the game. And thank you for your interest. I don't edit these videos. This is me extemporizing in front of a camera, pointing at my hands for a half hour to 50 minutes. It's not profitable content. I don't expect this to be a profitable channel. I don't expect this to transform my world and me not have to do my job no more. No, that's never going to happen. I'm okay with my job anyway. Really, if I end up doing a drive-through RPG affiliate link, it's just going to be because it may pay for additional content eventually. But really, it's so you can be pointed directly at some of this material that you can get in a cheap and obtainable way instead of having to find it the way I do, right? Or pay through the nose from someone who's already found it. So, anyhow, that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great day. Goodbye.